Started the track drive today and how also the acceleration started. We have a couple of eager teams really wanting to get their runs in super early. Thank you guys for that. We saw in the track drive that that's definitely a good idea and to not pull the classic Formula Student move of waiting all the way until the end, because you might not get all your runs in. We had a couple of people leaving the track drive sad because, no, sorry, the autocross sad because they couldn't get their second run in time. It is again GFR lining up first for the first skidpad attempt. Just like before, every team gets 2 kicks at this can. The discipline itself is pretty simple. Turn 2 times to the left, 2 times to the right. Many manual drivers forget that part. They either do just 1 to the left or 3 to the right or something to that effect. With the driverless cars, they either turn or they go straight. We've seen variations like that. We've also seen them not starting or not stopping at the end. Both of those are bad and will lead to a disqualification. What we're looking for here is just like with the driverless events overall, a red flashing light on top of the main hoop, an orange flashing light once the car gets going, and a solid blue light at the very end of the run. That's the key indicator that generally tells you whether it's a valid run or not. If the blue lights are flashing, that's usually the sign that the remote control shutdown button was pressed. You can see the team member already gave the go-ahead on the first lap. This looks, yeah, like a pretty normal skidpad tentative time, but it goes to the right first. That's interesting. But it did 2 laps, so I'm fine with that. We're going straight. The car came to a stop in the orange cone section with a solid blue light. Hey, we have a time on the board. And it's insanely consistent. 7:08, 7:09, left and right. No, I'm reading the board wrong. That was the average. Nevertheless, still very consistent. 7:09, first time on the board. Of course, it's purple. That will be the fastest time marked throughout the day. Next up, we already have Kit. Behind them, Tallinn is also waiting for their first try of the day. I already saw some other entirely driverless capable teams behind us in the dynamics area, but they haven't joined the queue just yet. We're hearing happy noises from Kit. That was the ready to drive sound. Really no drama. Timed lap is always the second one, of course.
Sliding a little bit on the first left-hander there.
But yeah, Super smooth, solid blue, and quite a bit faster than GFR. The average is a 5-second flat. Of course, we would assume over the course of the day, maybe in the second runs of the faster teams, to see the times tumble significantly below the 5 seconds. Some say even below the 4 seconds to really start giving the manual disciplines a run for their money. Those we will only see in the dark later tonight from 9:30 onwards.
Well, we did already see Karlsruhe set a positively blistering 3.16 in the driverless acceleration, faster than any of the times we saw last year, and that was on their very first attempt. So I think we can expect to see quite a few quick cars this season, if Kit has anything to go by. And I believe now we have car number 124 from Tallinn at the starting line. So far, very similar running order to the acceleration event that I spent a little time on earlier in the afternoon. There we also had GFR, then Karlsruhe, then Tallinn.
When we had these guys here for the driverless autocross this morning, of course, it wasn't looking quite so cheerful for them. They struggled to get going in both of their runs, so didn't really set a time for the autocross. But acceleration and skidpad in the driverless class being also scored for the overall, let's say, manual trophy, there is more at stake here. You would really want to set a time of whatever description in both the driverless acceleration and skidpad, just for the sake of having a time on the board. Those two for the overall cup get scored in such a way that the order on the scoreboard matters a lot more than the time gap in between each position. That's one of the unique quirks about the driverless disciplines in the overall FSG Cup. Happy beeps from Tallinn. Tentative start, a lot less aggressive than what we saw from GFR or Kit.
But like you said, it's important to just set a time first and foremost. And they are doing that successfully so far. Very clean run, going very smooth. Crossing the line, coming to a stop, yes, and there is the solid blue. That is a successful first run for Tallinn.
Yeah, what you really want is a clean run, even though each cone only counts significantly less, 0.2 seconds instead of 2 seconds for all the other disciplines in terms of penalty time. It is also a very short time, so you really don't want the car to really go overboard with its aggressiveness. Just put a time on the board and then see where you can have marginal gains for your second try. I think that's going to be the strategy that most of these guys go for. That's what I would do anyway. You never know. We've seen Kit pull some pretty flamboyant driving in their first run of the driverless autocross this morning, so you never know what they pick in terms of their approach to each discipline. Each team will, well, either decide that or the car will develop its own mind and just pick a line sometimes unintentionally.
So looking at the queue, we have GFR and Kit coming back for their second runs already. But before that, lining up at the start, we have car number 111 from Aristotle University. Team members have stepped away from the car. The solid orange light is going.
Oh yeah, I see the vision.
The car taking a while to get into the ready-to-drive state. We haven't heard the characteristic beep just yet. But I think because the queue is not very full and there are no first run teams in the queue, the officials are being a little bit more lenient with the amount of time afforded to the team. So we do hope to see them going in the coming seconds.
Yeah, it's always a bad sign when you see a driverless team member here in the dynamic area with a laptop, staring at the screen, trying to make something happen. I see one of the Aristotle team members is not looking happy, let's put it that way. Oh, the orange flashing is a good sign though.
Indeed.
Here we go. Ooh, that's the wrong direction, guys.
Yeah. That is a little bit far to the left, a little bit more than they would have expected, so I'm sure they hit the emergency brake, and that's why we see the blue flashing lights. So unfortunately that will be a DNF for Aristotle on their first run, but they do of course still have a second attempt, and while they get pushed off the track so the team can work on the car a little bit more, we will see GFR coming in for their second run very soon.
Yeah, and behind them, Kit is also ready for the second run of the day already. Those guys are going to be done with driverless pretty soon.
Which is honestly what we like to see, not only because it gives us something to talk about in these early stages of the competition, but also because it means there are teams, actually...
That can actually compete.
Exactly.
Yes,
that can actually compete, and also the ones that are not, falling victim to the usual pitfalls of waiting until the last second, thinking, oh, maybe we can tweak the car just a little bit more in the garage, maybe the asphalt can get just a little bit warmer, get a few extra hundredths of a second out of it. I think more often than not, that waiting and those tweaks do not yield any significant performance advantages, but they can very much lead to not having enough time to get a run in. As we saw at the driverless autocross today, a couple of teams coming in for their second runs did not have enough time to do so. So if your car is ready, guys, make sure that you make it on over to the dynamic events sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we will have the skid pad open until 7, so we just have 3.5 hours left to go for this. That's plenty of time.
On the one hand, yes. On the other hand, with every second, that's 1 second less. I don't see any teams even thinking about joining the queue at the moment. And of course, as we saw with the driverless autocross, if a team goes particularly off course, particularly haywire, it can take quite a while to reset the track, to recover the car, count all the cones, reset all the cones. So it is better to get a banker run in sooner rather than later, at least.
Yeah, don't forget resetting the timing equipment. We've had, over the years, multiple teams. I recall AMZ, I recall Delft, I recall Kit, that all swiped out those umbrella-covered boxes in the left-hand circle. And that's more time intensive, especially if something actually breaks. Most of the sensitive stuff is inside of the metal boxes, and I've also heard that there is actually extra bricks stacked in there for, extra inertia basically. But yeah, the sensitive bits, the antennas and the light beams, that can be slightly more time consuming to replace.
I think I remember either last year or the year before, the car from Lisbon drove into the timing equipment, knocked it into the cockpit, and then drove almost halfway back to the pits with the timing equipment still in the car. Hopefully not going to see anything like that this year, but if it does happen, like you say, Jonas, it can take quite a while to get everything ready for the next team.
Yeah, we always have the man with the remote kill switch ready from each team, the autonomous system responsible, ASR. Those are usually the guys in pink that you see wearing a little square fanny pack. Those guys do have the button to switch from the solid orange light state to hopefully blinking. That always happens on the behest of Christian. You can see him here in the dynamic area with the blue vest. Glad to see that the end responsibles per discipline this year are actually color-coded that way. And yeah, just like right now, he gave them the go-ahead GFR for the second run.
Very smooth on the first right-hander. And on the second as well, a decent time, 5.5, thereabouts. Not accelerating through the second left-hand loop, so just sticking to a steady pace. But crossing the line, and there is the solid blue. That is a good run from GFR.
Yeah, and an improvement, nevertheless. So yeah, good thing that they came for a second run, they improved their time. But, like I mentioned and hinted to, it only improves their point score if they actually skip the position ahead. Only the position difference actually gives you more points. In all of the other manual disciplines and the driverless scoring also for these events, the time difference still matters, but for the scoring of the driverless skidpad and acceleration for the overall cup, the position counts. Of course, in parallel, we have the driverless acceleration ongoing. That's already been running from 1:30 onwards. They'll be done at 5, so there's only an hour and a half left in that event. I think we've already seen the vast majority of teams that could be running in the acceleration being there. And it's good to see that some of them have come over here now. Kit is lining up for their second attempt right behind GFR, so that means we'll already have, call that 7 attempts.
Well, you say, Jonas, that most of the teams that are eligible have run the driverless acceleration, but there are still around 20 teams, I see, that have passed scrutineering that have not made an attempt just yet. So there's still plenty of action to go to acceleration, not as much time to go. So once again, guys, if you're ready to go, better to go now as Kit sets off on their second run. Looking very controlled, I'd say quicker than the first time.
Yeah, it does look a little bit more aggressive than the first time around. 4.99 right-hand side time, that's good. There we go, slight improvement, 4.93 as the average, and a valid run with a solid blue. Happy days. Yeah, this is what I was expecting to happen. Kit already had a strong showing in driverless autocross this morning. I'm sure they were impressive on the acceleration as well. Now the skid pad in the bag, I don't think anything could go wrong for the track drive tomorrow either.
Yeah, they were very impressive in the acceleration. In fact, they had a 3.16, still the top time of the day.
Yeah, and that's also crossing below the threshold that we would expect from the manual cars, of course.
Well, I believe the record at the moment is 2.999 seconds. That would have been FS Team Delft at Formula Student East 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago. So not quite the fastest times we have seen ever, but definitely getting down there.
Yeah, specifically getting faster than what we usually measure here at FSG. You always see slight differences in how each competition conducts their lineup procedure and which parts of the car actually trigger the timing beam. But yeah, here the FSG times, I think, have already tumbled on the acceleration anyway. Yeah, we already alluded to it just before Kit did their run, but I think one thing that's pretty hard to convey if you've never been here is the distances that you cover as a car crew pushing the car around this paddock. We're of course here in the, let's call it the main dynamic area, where also the big autocross track for the manual disciplines is going to be set up. But the acceleration is actually all the way at the other corner of the event sites that we have here from the Hockenheim Ring. And yeah, maybe also first time joining teams might underestimate this. It takes a significant amount of time to weasel yourself out of this dynamic area with the 4 people and all the tools that you need to run the car, get all the way across the busy paddock, join the acceleration queue. You have post-scrutineering to contend with in both of these disciplines. That's what's happening right behind us here, behind the big timing screen, under the tent, where each car still gets checked over for rules compliance after each run. And yeah, that's one of the reasons that we're saying do your runs as early as possible. Things can always happen. A team can completely clear off all the cones. Other things might be going wrong with your car for some reason. You need more time to get set up. So yeah, it's always good to aim to do your runs as early as you possibly can.
Yeah, I think we as commentators have accepted it at this point, that it's a Sisyphean task for us to keep reminding the teams to run early, as early as possible if they're ready, but we will keep doing it because someone has to. So car number 124 from Tallinn coming for their second attempt at the driverless Skidpad. Doing some final checks there. They already have a time on the board. Seeing it's somewhere in the 5.5 range. But I'm sure they'll be hoping to improve to be closer to the 5, maybe even in the 4.9s.
Yeah, 5.87 is a decent time, but we've also seen Tallinn cars do quite impressive things in both manual and driverless disciplines. So yeah, fingers crossed for these guys. Yeah, we saw something similar from them during the autocross this morning, where it took them quite a while to get going, and there were also some frantic looks towards the dashboard of the car every now and then, before they really were fully set up like they are now. But hey, they got there. Everybody took a couple of steps back, and we're off. This is very tentative pace.
Yeah, let's see if it goes faster on the second attempt. Already a little too fast, collecting a couple of cones and thankfully stopping before a rendezvous with the timing equipment. So that is unfortunately a DNF for Tallinn on their second attempt. But like we said, they do already have a first run on the board. I think one that is still probably in the top 3, definitely in the top 5. So should nobody come and be faster than them, they should still expect some good points for this discipline, as we see the next car making its way over to the start line, car from Lund.
Now the acceleration times are in there as well, so this is going to be much better. Yeah, I thought I was gonna switch. No, because I already told Matthew they are, if you click on it. If you click on the eye of the team.
Yeah, you see for the team that you have. Yeah.
Oh no, wait, these are previous years. Oh no, never mind, these are...
No, if they've set a time, you should see
Yeah.
what's there, but what I wanted from Matthew is if you go on the timing board, like if you
Yeah, the other way around. So a quick word on Tallinn. We have a little totally unofficial and also probably missing cones all over the place points projection system going for us commentators this year. And currently, as the timings stand right now, we would project P3 for Tallinn.
Yeah, that would be around 25 points for the driverless Skidpad overall, as things stand. But that is, of course, like you mentioned, excluding any cones, excluding any other potential penalties, excluding post-scrutineering. So yeah, no rights can be derived from anything the commentators say at any point. As Lund now is ready to go, we do hear the beeping, but unfortunately that is accompanied by flashing blue lights, as opposed to the flashing orange that we would have wanted to see. I'm not sure whether that counts as an official attempt for Lund. That will be up to the officials to decide, but no run attempt just yet for them.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. That was, I think, Was Christian already stepped back, or did he come forward with the team member just now? Because that's going to be, I think, the distinctive difference. If Christian already gave them the go signal, and then the car decided to shut off the autonomous system, or somebody else did, then that's going to be a DNS or a DNF.
Well, it looked like they had taken 2 steps back, but they weren't quite all the way back with the other team members yet. So it's...
Then they might be lucky in this case. I think they will be able to reset, get going, and finish it.
And I think we do see Lund being allowed to run, so probably that did not count as an attempt.
Yeah, solid orange, we're ready to go. I think we'll just wait for Talon to back behind the tires here, or just leave the infield area altogether.
There's the ready to drive sound. Let's see how they get on. The car twitched forward and immediately went into the finish state with the flashing blue lights.
Yeah, that's the cruelty of driverless. The car has to fully recognize its mission by itself once it's been given the go. That's tough. It's always really tough to see for me that the car is ready, we're all here, we're good to go, and then it just doesn't quite go. That's a really sad sight, Christian now breaking the timing line for their run to invalidate it.
Yes, that will be unfortunately a DNF or a DNS even for Lund, as we see car number 90 from Politecnico di Milano coming up for their first attempt at the skid pad, and a pretty empty looking queue afterwards.
Yeah, that does bode well for Lund, right? This was their first attempt. I think they also had pretty bad luck during the driverless autocross this morning. I don't see any valid times for them, so I don't think my memory deceives me in saying that, yeah, they also couldn't get started there. I'm not sure, how did they run on the autocross, acceleration for driverless?
They did manage to get a valid run in. It was a very tentative one, I believe somewhere in the 16.5 second range. But it was a valid run, and as you said, in the driverless disciplines that are part of the main EV Cup, getting a run in, no matter how fast or slow, is much more important than getting a very fast run in, because the points are based more on the placement of the team rather than the time relative to the leaders. So just having a time in the acceleration is already very good for them.
Right then, next contender, Milano, is lined up and gives us the ready to drive sound. Oh, that's already 4 cones that tumbled out on the stabilization lap. Not posing any difficulty, at least in terms of tracking the circle for the second run. no further cones collected on the left-hand side. Coming to a valid stop. So with the, well, I see maybe 5 cones actually out of position. So that's a second at least added to the time that we see on the board, a 5:02, good time. But yeah, let's hope they can utilize their second run to put something clean and therefore automatically faster already with a similar pace.
Now we see our next contender, car number 95 from Chalmers, making their way on over to the starting line. Also one of the stronger driverless contenders we have seen in the past 2 or 3 years, so expecting to see a relatively rapid time.
Right then, Chalmers lined up and ready to go. Actually interesting to see the car corrected the slight angle that I think the team put it down with right as it got going. a super quiet car, so this also looks super smooth. Slowing down initially a little bit for the left-hand side, but speeding up again.
Very stable, very clean run, and a very decent time. The left-hand loop even faster than the right-hand one. And I think I see that is the case for basically every team that has run so far. The left-hand loop is faster than the right.
Yeah, that can always be down to the fact that this skid pad here at FSG isn't perfectly level. We are on a parking lot area here after all, that needs to be drained properly, so we have all kinds of undulations from the drainage system here. And that means that there is a slight change in camber and elevation, especially on the left-hand side. The right-hand side is a bit flatter. Alright then, next up on the Driverless Skidpad, getting ready right now is car number 33 from Zurich. Already seen pretty good performance from these guys in the driverless autocross and the acceleration earlier in the day. Especially laterally, this car looked pretty impressive to me during the autocross anyway, so I have high hopes for this one. Also one of the quieter cars, and that just makes it look so much faster to me. 501, I think they're just setting a banker run and want to turn it up in the second one.
Well, they had a 5.026 at the Driverless Skidpad last year, so already a considerable improvement on that.
And they're getting very close to Karlsruhe, 4.95 compared to 4.93 from Kit. So yeah, like I said, competitive run. They will have to contend with one round of post-scrutineering here, right behind us, behind the big timing screen in the center of the infield. And then they can already join for their second run as well.
So finally, a little bit more action here in the driverless skidpad. We see car number 78 from Hamburg approaching the starting line. They looked absolutely blistering at the driverless autocross earlier in the day. And let's see how they can compare in the driverless skidpad.
Yeah, they, just like they do now for the skid pad, they came late sort of during the autocross running time. Now, I mean, we still have 2 hours and 20 minutes to go before the skid pad closes here, but still, they weren't one of the first runners, let's put it that way.
No, and I think looking at this crew, there's still about 30 teams, I think, that we need to squeeze in with the first run. Maybe a little bit fewer, but 2 hours, 30 teams. That's less than 5 minutes per team.
That's what we tried when we were really pushing during the autocross this morning.
Indeed.
So, yeah, oh, this could get tight.
Hamburg, meanwhile, does seem to be ready to go. The solid orange lights are on.
Hamburg, one of the teams with the strange and ready to drive sounds, but we're off through the timing light. Of course, only the second lap counts. And yeah, this does look, from the way the chassis is rolling out into the corner, does look like the car is actually pushing itself to roughly the grip limit.
Yeah, it did look like it was a little bit slower on the first loop and faster on the second.
No, actually, very consistent. And a valid run on top of that, 5.26 and 5.28 on average makes a 5.27. Of course, not quite the fastest, but still clean run that they can improve from.
I did hear somewhat of an alarm sound, and I'm not sure if it had solid blue lights or if it went straight to flashing blue.
Yeah, no, it had a solid blue light, and then usually what some teams do is just they kill the car on top of it, and then it will start flashing blue.
Yeah. Well, solid first run by Hamburg. I'm sure they'll be hoping to improve a little bit, or maybe more than a little bit. But first, we will have car number 113 from Munich.
And right behind them, the 172 of Dortmund. Munich, I'm not sure if we've seen, at least this morning during the autocross. So it could very well be that these guys are not competing in the Driverless Cup. But still, it's always nice to see fresh faces, like Igor already mentioned. We have more teams that we haven't necessarily seen during the autocross this morning. Maybe that's because they hadn't made it all the way through the necessary scrutineering yet. Or it could also be that, yeah, they're not competing in the Driverless Cup, which means that the participation in the Driverless Autocross and Track Drive isn't necessary. But yeah, if you want to score maximum points here at FSG, then the driverless skid pad that we have here and the acceleration that is now in its closing 17 minutes over on the straight are more or less mandatory disciplines.
So, car number 113 from Munich, doing some final preparations at the start line. Behind them I see car number 172 from Dortmund in the queue. And past that, the queue is still relatively empty. And just over 2 hours left in the event. And still plenty of teams that need to get a run in. If the folks watching at home or the folks here at the track look over to the acceleration queue, they'll see that there's quite a lot of cars there and only just about 15 minutes left. Almost a guarantee that unfortunately not all of them will be able to get a run in. So guys and gals, take the right lessons from that and try to get a run in as soon as possible, just to make sure you have a time on the board.
Yeah, of course, there's a little bit of drama playing out in the driverless acceleration queue right now. Just like what we had with the autocross this morning. The event is almost done. The last 15 minutes are running down, and yeah, a bunch of teams are still lined up for their second runs of the day. Some of them such that that they haven't put a time on the board. They might have had a DNF in their first run. So yeah, let's please avoid that same fate here for Skidpad. So if you already have 2 runs, I'm unfortunately pretty sure that our filters here for our amazing dashboard don't allow us to filter for 2 successful acceleration runs and able to join Skidpad. But I'm sure it's a pretty decent number of cars at this point.
Yeah, and of course you never know what might happen with the teams ahead of you, how much time it might take for you to get your run in. You know, when all goes well, it could be as quick as 3 or 4 minutes per team. When something unfortunate happens, then it might take a little bit longer. Jonas and I were not watching the acceleration live stream, but we heard the unpleasant crunching noise, and we heard something about the timing equipment being in a not fully functional state anymore. So it might take a little bit of time to get that going again. And of course, you never know when that might happen. So once again, if you can get a time in, if your car is ready to go, do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Skidpad is slightly more forgiving in terms of the setup and especially removal time. That's where acceleration is not the favorable discipline, because you have to push the car so much further all the way to the pit exit of the Hockenheimring. So yeah, especially getting the car away from the finish line takes especially long. And yeah, now that Milano had a little bit of a run-in with the timing equipment, the last runs of the day are really at risk for the team still in the queue. Munich is taking their sweet time there, getting set up. I think based on the fact that we don't really have much queue pressure, they've been given some leniency on top of the usual minute that they have for the driverless disciplines to get set up at the starting line. My suspicion that they have been absent from driverless this morning. I'm trying to confirm whether they've done an acceleration run. Yeah, I see that they have indeed attempted an acceleration run, but did not finish it, and also, well, clearly are not trying for a second one. Probably hedging their bets of, we've seen the queue at acceleration, we're not going to make it. Let's go to a discipline that we can actually still have 2 attempts at. Yeah, that's the kind of strategy calls that you have to sometimes make here. To basically abandon a whole discipline. In this case, for the scoring of the overall cup, this means 50-point loss basically. Both acceleration and Skidpad count for 50 points, and that can hurt, but it can also be more important to get a run on the board here, especially when you have issues like this, where after a lot of setup, you still don't manage to get going. we're missing an official's radio channel here, but it could very well be that because they have fully retreated and Christian has probably given them the go-ahead, not that I have explicitly seen that, but if he has, then that would mean that this first run is invalidated. And judging by the fact that he is now heading towards the timing beam, I would think that Munich's first run is forfeit without them having really left the spot that they set up in.
Yes, I do see Munich now appearing on the timing sheet, on the timing board with a DNF, unfortunately, for their first attempt. But like you say, Jonas, when it gets, when come crunch time, when there's not a lot of time left and a lot of cars in the queue, it's also good to take advantage if you might think that your car needs a little bit more time to set up at the starting line to come in when there is no other cars in the queue. Because once there are, you're only going to get the allotted 30 seconds or 1 minute or however long, and you will not be, you will not have any leeway to play around with something if it's not quite going as expected.
Yeah, Driverless is still functioning a little bit different than what the manual disciplines are like. In the manual events, you would expect that any team that joins the queue is ready to go at a moment's notice. That's still not always the case with these driverless teams. Sometimes based on experience, sometimes just car issues, sometimes the weather. We've seen crazy things over the years here in driverless. Heavy rain distracting cameras. We've seen the sponsor banners on the side here. Posing for cones basically and distracting them during track drive. All manners of shenanigans can really happen with these driverless systems.
We have car number 172 from Dortmund ready at the start line, or getting ready at the start line. I believe we have seen them set a time, or at least attempt to set a time at all driverless disciplines so far. So one of the more thorough driverless Cup participants.
Yeah, they've had 2 valid runs on the acceleration, the fastest one being a 5-second run. So yeah, respectable time, and yeah, impressive to see them going the full mile and participating in the full-blown Driverless Cup since we saw them in Autocross this morning. The reason that I say that it's impressive, by the way, is just based on the extra complexity that Driverless adds to your car.
Well, it seems to be dealing with the complexity
not so well.
Not so well.
An aborted run, I think.
Indeed, that is aborted. I think missing the timing equipment by just a couple of centimeters. But thankfully, no serious damage to the car or to the track. Should just take a couple of minutes to set up again. And there's nobody else in the queue either way, so no rush for anyone at this point in time.
Yeah, casting my eyes over further beyond the queue entrance, I see Zurich, I see Munich, I see Hamburg sort of hanging around close. There is also at least one team waiting their turn for EBS, so maybe that's another scrutineering attempt. I really hope more teams can join us here, since this is relevant for the overall scoring. And yeah, looks like Hamburg is already coming back for the second run of the day into the queue.
κόκκινα είναι επίσης δικά μας. Τα κόκκινα.
Right then, Hamburg gives us ready to drive for the second time. A little bit of a squiggle going across the timing line. But this looks steady and on the limit, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot more tire squeal on the second loop, and you can see it slow down entering the first left-hander.
Yeah, the camber of the track definitely playing a role there.
A little less tire squeal on the left-hand loop, but stopping nice, solid blue lights, and a good 5.11.
Indeed. So yeah, improvement for them. Good to see, barring any calamities post-scrutineering. Not that I want to draw any particular attention to Hamburg in this case. That's something that every team has to contend with. But yeah, just because there is a time on the board doesn't mean there is points in the bag just yet. That's only going to be the case if they leave this tent here behind us successfully. Yeah, now that the driverless acceleration queue has just closed a couple of minutes ago, it looks like it's time for us to get a little bit more skidpad action here. Trondheim is joining us for their first run of the day, as far as I can tell. Trondheim already had a pretty strong showing on acceleration, 3.438 seconds uncorrected, barring any calamities. And also is currently in our projections anyway, P3 in the driverless autocross. So yeah, I do expect this to be a decent showing on skidpad as well. Previous years, we've also seen good things from them. In skidpad specifically, they had a 4.875. That would be the fastest time of the day if they managed to pull that off again.
Yeah, we only have one sub 5-second time so far from Karlsruhe. But even that, I think, was a little bit slower than what they had last year. So let's see if Trondheim can improve on their previous score.
Of course, conditions are always slightly different, but out of all the disciplines, I think skidpad is going to be the most consistent one, just because of how well defined the exact track layout is and how relatively insensitive it is to track conditions. This looks pretty fast, I gotta be honest. If it looks smooth, it's usually fast. And this looks like the car is really nicely settling in.
But the left-hander is above the right-hander was above 5 seconds. The left-hander just over as well, but still a good time and a successful finish as well. Well done, Trondheim.
Yeah, so just hypothetically, I think you can get through the post-scrutiny here behind us in, say, 10 minutes. I think we've seen teams able to do that. So yeah, ample time for them to either rejoin the queue immediately or take some time and review, figure out how to make it go faster. Maybe they already know, who knows. And they just wanted a time on the board, like we always recommend for all the driverless disciplines. Like I promised, as soon as driverless acceleration closes, we get some more action here. On skidpad, we have another car in the queue. How exciting. Car number 58, if my eyes don't deceive me. That is Lisboa. And Chalmers also pushing into the queue area. Based on the time of arrival, I would think that Lisboa is going to be let out onto the track first. I also see further motion here in the dynamic area. It looks like Zurich is ready to join us. There's also car number 31 from TU Munich pushing in. The UAS Munich has been sitting at the entrance of the queue for quite a while, but hasn't joined. And I think that's Hamburg. Maybe just returning from their previous run. Lisboa then, almost ready to set up in front of the timing line of the skid pad. They already set a decent acceleration time for driverless, 3.86. Last year they managed to score a 5.36 here on the skid pad. That would also be a really competitive time here this year. Of course, skid pad times are tight. The margin between different teams is always a little bit smaller than in some of the longer disciplines. But it would still, put them top 5, roughly.
Yeah, looking at the top 5 right now, the cutoff seems to be around 5.1 seconds. So if they can get under that, should be comfortably among the top positions.
Yeah, so easy. Just drive the same time as last year, and then slightly faster, and then you're there. Just do that.
Yeah, even better. Just drive the same as Karlsruhe, and then it's all good. I mean, how hard could it be?
As it turns out, driverless is pretty hard. We've seen already some starting troubles here, some kerfuffle with the big cones. That's usually an uncomfortable situation for any aero department team members that are watching. The big cones are significantly heavier, so you would encounter more damage to any front wing accoutrements. Hopefully that's not going to be the case for Lisboa here.
No, and of course we're being facetious when we say how hard could it be. It is of course incredibly difficult to get a driverless car driving at all, much less driving quickly and driving consistently. So setting any time in any of the driverless disciplines is already a big achievement for any of the teams.
Yeah, Lisboa is getting going. Very careful start, but you know, the car always has to acquire the track first. I think it knows which way to turn first and how many to drive, but that's not looking so good. Right after we crossed the starting line, I couldn't actually tell which way it veered first, but it collected a number of cones.
Yeah, it went a little bit too far to the left, hit a couple of the orange cones and collected some blue ones as well. So it'll take a few minutes to get everything reset and cleared up. There are 2 or 3 cars in the queue at the moment, as far as I can tell. I think I see Too Fast in the first run queue. I see AMZ returning.
Chalmers is behind Too Fast, so I think they're going to be going first. Yeah, Chalmers, Munich, Zurich, and then Ostfalia, car number 135, is also joining in the queue. Ostfalia, I think, is one of the teams that we were anxiously waiting for, in the sense that they were one of the teams that we saw as theoretically being able to participate in the driverless from a scrutineering perspective. But we hadn't seen them just yet, and yeah, now that the sun is sort of arcing its way lower and lower towards that sweet, sweet sunset, when we'll have manual driverless happening here in the dark, we have more teams joining us. That's always welcome.
I think just at a glance there should be about 4 more hours of sunlight to go. So then I think it could be that the first couple of runners in the manual skid pad will still be able to drive just around sunset time, you know, in the golden hour, in the twilight. And a couple might have to go all the way near midnight in the complete pitch black. So it'll be interesting to see how that impacts the times, how that impacts the performance. But for now, driverless. And I believe that is car number 31 from Munich. Ready to drive signal is good, and the car sets off. A little bit twitchy in the right-hander, on and off the throttle.
Yeah, they've had a bit of a mixed bag in the autocross this morning, and by the looks of it also during the acceleration. They did not manage to set a valid run It was a very fast attempt. Looks like they're going more conservative for Skidpad here. It's a valid run with a 5.38.
Yeah, just a little cone clipped there at the exit. So that will add a little bit of the time to the overall score.
Yeah,
But still,
indeed. Any of the cones you see here count, so that's a 0.2 second extra that we would expect to be added to the time that you see on the board. Still 5.58 it would then be. Not a bad time, and it's 1 on the board. Like we always say, that's what you want.
we see now car number 85 from Delft also joining us in the Skidpad queue. Same as TU Fast, unfortunately they were not able to set a valid acceleration time in the driverless. So let's see if their fortunes fare better in the Skidpad.
Yeah, Ostfalia now being waved towards the starting position. Behind them, eForce Prague, like we mentioned, Delft also in for the first run of the day. And I think Chalmers and Zurich are being held back a little bit in favor of the teams that are here for their first runs of the day. That's usually how the queues work. I like that system. Make sure that everybody has had the chance to set at least a time for the day in the second runs, while still meaningful for the teams. Usually are less important, let's say. If our dashboard is correct here, then for Ostfalia this might actually be the first time that they're participating, or at least they did not participate in the driverless disciplines last year. That's always something special. Driverless adds a ton of complexity to the cars. They have to be able to brake themselves, steer themselves, they have to be integrated into the control systems. They have to have the sensors on board that have separate requirements in the rules. There's a bunch of data logging you need to do, and oh, by the way, the computations as well. So you have extra power requirements, extra volume requirements of the hardware that needs to go somewhere in the car. So it's always really impressive to see teams like Ostfalia, but also Dortmund, like we saw earlier, smaller teams that we wouldn't usually expect to be able to tackle challenges like this quite the way that they, well, quite clearly managed to do.
So the team members and Christian step back. That means this will count as a run attempt. And it does set off very, very tentatively. Slaloming just a touch, but turning well into the right-hander. Clipping a cone. I'm not sure if it knocked it out of the box that marks where the cone is supposed to go. Accelerating very fast. And unfortunately a little too fast for the car to be able to control. Going way too far out to the left at the center of the track, and unfortunately that is a DNF on the first run, but still a promising first attempt.
Yeah, there's always the second one, and speaking of too fast, they've also just joined the second run queue. in the interest of keeping things running smoothly along here. Car number 42, Prague, is getting readied while Ostfalia is recovering. It looked like something to do again with the acquisition of the track. I think we already talked about this briefly before. The car was setting off really tentatively and then all of a sudden sped up, maybe a little bit beyond what the vehicle dynamics of the actual car were able to handle. And yeah, then it just spun out. That's why we keep talking about the risk that the timing equipment is under. This happens quite a lot, and especially today. It's been going on.
Yeah, it was also a unusual place for the car to start accelerating. Usually you see that after they complete the first loop and they have acquired the full layout, let's say, of either the right or the left-hand side of the track. But this time around it accelerated about 2/3 of the way through the first right-hand loop. So maybe that's why something went out of control when crossing the start-finish line.
Who knows, maybe that was the exact right point where the sensors on the car could actually detect the remaining cones of the circle, and it was relatively confident of where the track was going to be. We can only really speculate at how each team exactly does their driverless systems, and it's probably a way too long explanation of how they actually work. So yeah, we'll leave it at speculation and watch Prague instead. They're already ready to set off. Brief hesitation there on the right-hand side. Now for the timed lap, they keep going though. Again, briefly hesitating, roughly the same point on the left-hand side turn. But a 5.28 is a decent time, and that's a blue light. I hope they are deep enough into the finish zone. But yeah, just judging based on the fact that they're really outside of the circles themselves, I would let this count, at least unofficially.
Yeah, from where we're standing, from this perspective, it looks like it might still be somewhere between the final blue cones and the first orange cones. But we heard quite a good cheer from the crowd. We did not see any disappointment, I think, on the face of the team members, based on anything the officials might have said. So yes, I believe this should be a valid run.
Right then, next up, Delft out of the first run queue. Being pushed towards the starting position under loud cheering from the rest of the team. We watched the acceleration driverless live stream, and yeah, couldn't help but notice that these guys struggled to get going a little bit. Both runs being a DNF on the acceleration, so yeah, high hopes for the Skidpad from the team, very clearly. Brief update on the queue behind Delft. We have Chalmers, Zurich and Munich waiting in the second run queue.
Yeah, and we have car number 26, Renteam, hopping in to the first run queue as well.
That could mean that they will jump ahead of Chalmers again, because this is the first run of Renteam for the day.
And not too much action in the queue otherwise. And just over an hour and a half left. We have seen, I think, maybe 10 teams set a time so far, out of the 35 or so that have passed all the necessary scrutineering checks. So less and less time, and still quite a few teams to go. We've already said it 100 times, and we will say it 100 more. If you think your car is ready to run, it's better to get it to the queue right now. So the team members of the car from Delft stepping away from the vehicle. So this should now count as a run attempt.
not seeing any yellow lights yet. And instead I'm seeing blue flashing lights. That's usually not a good sign.
No, I believe that is the same that we saw on their second acceleration attempt. Yeah, the computer says no, it would seem.
Refusing to get going again for the third time today. Yeah, such do be driverless. Sometimes car can have a mind of its own. We've speculated many a year, many a times about what goes on inside the mind of a driverless car, and it, yeah, can be anything. We have changing light conditions here. It might see a squirrel that it gets scared of in a reflection that isn't actually a squirrel. It can be any little thing. In the software stack, there's a lot of ones and zeros between the go button and the car actually driving. Yeah, that's unfortunate for Delft. They still have a second run and the queue isn't too long. Also not seeing too many other cars in the dynamic area that might join us here on a whim. Of course, 2 cars right behind us here that could still come back for a second run after post-scrutineering, Prague and Nostfalia. But yeah, pretty much hour and a half to go. No rush just yet.
So the car from Chalmers has been sitting in the pre-scrutineering tent for quite a while, now finally on over to the start line for their second run. Delft, it seems, despite the struggles they've been facing with the driverless acceleration and the driverless skidpad, elect to go directly into the second run queue. So perhaps they think that it's not too big of an issue that they need to leave and go back to the pits for. I do hear a signal from the Chalmers, the flashing orange lights as well. Sets off very tentatively. Speeding up as it enters the first right-hand loop. Bouncing a little bit on the rough surface, but navigating it nicely and neatly. Looks to be speeding up just a little bit through the second left-hander and across the line. And do we see solid blue?
Not yet. There
Yes.
we go.
Not an improvement from Chalmers, unfortunately, but still good to have 2 solid runs. Bodes well for the autonomous track drive tomorrow. And now we have car number 26, Rennteam Stuttgart, making their way to the start line for their first driverless skidpad attempt. I believe similar to Munich and Delft, they were unable to set a valid time at the driverless acceleration, unfortunately. I believe they were the last team that were allowed to line up at the start line, but due to the strict German time laws, they were not allowed to make their run. So now they're here with plenty of time to spare. Let's see how they do.
Yeah, they're still getting set up. Meanwhile, we have another first run contender joining us here pretty late in the skidpad queue, 141. From Wien, we saw these guys setting very flamboyant EBS tests here during the while the driverless autocross was ongoing. They were in the area behind us, in the test track area. If they can drive the Skidpad as flamboyant as they've driven those EBS runs, then we're in for a treat. We did see the queue very consistently favoring the first run cars, so I think once the green team gets going, we'll see Wien right afterwards.
I do see indeed the flashing orange lights of the red team car. Look to a little spin.
Aye, that's too much. That's too much. Overcooked it right into the first right-hander. Yeah, that run is killed. That's what the blue flashing means. Unfortunate. First run is gone. Then again, second run queue is also not too long. I would hope that nobody wants to post-scrutineer a car that just spun out. So, yeah, still anything to go for Renteam.
Well, you say, why would anyone post-scrutineer a car that just spun out? But we did see Ostfalia standing behind us in the post-scrutineering area for quite a while after they spun out on their first right-hander as well. So there might be something the scrutineers could want to take a look at. Maybe for Ostfalia it was because they had a pretty hard impact against the cones, and maybe the scrutineers just wanted to check that nothing got knocked loose.
Yeah, in this case it's just a couple of cones, blue ones on the outside. So yeah, much less severe of an impact for that team.
So we have 4 cars in the queue, and as you said, Jonas, very fair preference being given to the first run queue, with Vienna now rolling forward towards the starting line. In the second run queue, we have Zurich, Munich, and Delft. And I would not be surprised if we see Renteam join that queue as well.
I was looking at our dashboard here, and that little birdie told me that Wien made an attempt at driverless acceleration, but unsuccessfully so, for the reasons that aren't listed in our dashboard here. They did not manage to set a valid time. They have a DNF on the board for acceleration. They are, however, ready to go for Skidpad now and are setting off. Oh, that's the wrong way.
It does find its way eventually. Very slalomy left, right, but mostly staying between the cones.
I was about to say did not manage to hit any cones, but we already have 3 down, so that's 0.6 seconds on whatever time they do manage to set now. Another cone, mostly on the outside though.
Yeah, it really does seem like it's like the algorithm is, if you see a cone on the right, turn left, and if you see a cone on the left, turn right.
Yeah, I think in the control space, this is what you call a bang-bang controller. It either goes fully left or fully right, and just tries to somewhat stay at the center of the track.
Well, it's doing relatively okay so far. It did do 2 right-hand loops, and now going for the second left-hand loop.
I do have to give it to them, this is definitely the most entertaining Skidpad run of the day.
Yeah, I want to see how they fare with the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, wobbly, that's for sure. Solid blue light, hey, and 14.74 is definitely one of the times on the board. Thank you, Wien, for this little laugh so late in the afternoon. While half the track is getting rebuilt with fresh cones, Zurich is pushing up to the starting position.
Yeah, one of the most successful teams this season, and one of the most successful teams in the history of Formula Student Germany Electric. They have won the overall electric competition 4 times, I believe. One of 3 teams to do so. Can you guess the other 2, Jonas?
So, by my count, that should be Delft and green/red team.
Indeed.
Then again, we also assigned very high hopes to them in the autocross this morning, and those high hopes were not fully met, I might say.
Well, I mean, I think they still had the second fastest time of the day, which is nothing to scoff at. One of the few teams in the sub 30-second range. But I think they did hit a couple of cones on both runs, so overall might not stay sub 30, but still very, very impressive. I think definitely one of the most successful teams in the driverless category for sure.
Also one of the most successful teams at aiming straight for the timing equipment. I think these are the guys that started this whole thing about really side-swiping into the taller one of the posts there with the antenna in it for the RFID reader, which car is on track.
Well, I believe on the first run they were relatively clean. Didn't see any timing equipment damage in the Skidpad discipline so far. Let's hope it stays that way.
While they're getting set up and situated, Dortmund is joining us in the second run queue for another go at Skidpad. So after Munich, Delft, Lisboa, we'll see Dortmund hopefully.
No, it's, let's watch Zurich first.
The other Munich, never mind, yes.
Very clean, very stable on the right.
Fast on the right-hand side too, purple time there so far.
Looking very quick on the left as well.
Aye, 4.78, but. We do get to a stop with a solid blue light, but we did hit some cones. That's bad news.
Yeah, at least 2, and I think it's just on the verge of tipping over a third. I'm not sure whether that would count.
So that's not a cone down or out. It is still within its box, even though the car has just nudged it, you know.
Well, maybe it could have nudged it a little bit too far if it skidded along the ground. That'll be up to the officials to decide, of course. But still, you can see the very high performance potential of this car.
Indeed. Nevertheless, for this very run, I would expect 0.2 seconds per cone and at least 2 cones added to that. So, yeah, while the purple time is very impressive, it's a huge shame that those cones are collected not on track, but in the runoff area. Next up, Munich, also second run of the day.
And looking at the queue, it is starting to fill up a little bit more. After Munich in the second run queue, we have Delft, we have another Munich, and then we have Dortmund. And in the first run queue, somebody new. Can you tell us through your binoculars who it is, Jonas?
It's the 157 of... I really wish that the names on the sides of the cars had to be bigger and more readable, because I can't quite make it out from here.
Uh, 157 would be the car from Athens.
A new contender then. We did not see them for the Autocross Driverless Cup this morning.
No, we have not seen them at the driverless autocross at the very least. I am not sure if they attempted to set a time at the driverless acceleration, but in any case, good to see them here right now, as we see Lund coming back for their second attempt as well.
And Munich setting off, well, the TU Munich, that is.
So it's looking smooth, looking quick. Judging by the time, not quite as quick as the AMZ car we saw earlier, but considerably cleaner.
And an improvement for them, 5.16. I missed if it was a solid blue light to start with.
It was a solid blue. So that should be a successful run for Munich. Congratulations, guys. TU Munich, that is. UAS Munich is currently second in the second run queue. But Athens, if they decide they're ready and they pass the pre-scrutineering, which it seems they have, will be going next. So we have Wrocław coming back, I believe, for their second attempt at the driverless skidpad. We've definitely seen them be quite active throughout the day. I believe we've seen them at every single driverless event so far.
And with just over an hour and 15 minutes left in this event, I think now already slowly comes the time where we need to start counting the number of minutes that this takes per run. We have 4 cars in queue, 1 on the finish line. Assuming, 3-4 minutes per, that already eats half of the time that we have left available for the cars to run as they are. And then Wrocław joins us, so that basically completes the 45 minutes. We of course saw the second run from TU Munich. Wien might want to join us back, so then we're already at 50-ish minutes.
Yeah, and I'm seeing another 20 teams through scrutineering that have not attempted any driverless skidpad times as thus far.
They would then get priority over the second run queue again. So yeah, it's going to get interesting, I think, here in terms of time.
Indeed, and I do see a couple of new teams rolling up to the prep area. I don't remember the technical term for it, but I saw car 218 from Sevilla rolling in. I see car 240 from Eindhoven rolling in as well.
Yeah, those guys we've seen both at Autocross and the acceleration. I see Ren team still hanging around. While a super quiet car has stopped just after the timing line. Oh no, they did not manage to break the timing line from the right-hand run. Yeah, both the absence of a loud ready-to-drive sound and just no noise at all from them didn't alert us to the presence of Athens out on track. Valiant try, first run. They still have a second one to go, of course.
Yeah, the first right-hand loop did look pretty good. Didn't see any cones being clipped. It looked pretty steady. So it is definitely showing promise before their second attempt. But first, the second attempt from TU Delft.
As unfortunate as it is to see a team not managing to complete their run, this does favorably play into our time balance slightly. They, of course, managed to recover slightly more quickly than they otherwise would have. Delft is getting set up. Wrocław joined us. And yeah, more cars piling into the vicinity of the queue entrance in the dynamic area.
So second attempt from TU Delft. Now the team members and Christian and the other officials step away. So this is officially their second run.
Yeah, the first time around we didn't even see yellow lights. It just went into blue flashing straight away. And I'm not seeing yellow lights again. Or orange. That would usually indicate to me that the driverless system is ready to accept its mission. And again, blue flashing lights not managing to get going for Delft. That's unfortunate. Both the acceleration and driverless skidpad with no valid time on the board.
So I believe now we have UAS Munich lining up on the start line. No, not yet. UAS Munich is still in the second run queue. This would be somebody coming for their first run.
That's Wroclaw.
That would be Wroclaw. As we see Sevilla coming into the first run queue as well.
The second run queue really hasn't been moving and will have to pause.
I'm seeing something weird. The Delft car is rejoining the second run queue, so perhaps that did not count as a second run attempt.
Yeah, you could argue that only when Christian really gives the, let's say, virtual green flag, should it really count as a run. Maybe the car decided to reject this mission before that point. That would be the only line of argument that I would see as feasible there.
It is indeed not 100% certain what happened, but I do not see a second DNF for Delft on the timing sheets. So it does seem they will be able to re-attempt their second attempt as Wroclaw sets off.
That's a very careful start to your skidpad, but we've also seen cars speed up significantly once they've acquired the full circle. That does not seem to be the case for them, but still, they are managing just fine on the right-hand side.
But the transition into the left-hander is unfortunately going to be a DNF, as the car seems to just stop of its own accord after completing two right-hand loops. And the queue is evolving. We have in the second run queue in order Munich, Dortmund, Lund, Athens, Delft, and Stuttgart, Renteam Stuttgart. And in the first run queue, Sevilla and Eindhoven.
It really feels like UAS Munich has been stuck at the head of that second run queue for ages now. Of course, advantage first run cars. Chalmers had a similar thing going there for quite a while, just being stuck at the head of the second run queue as well.
So Munich did set off very quietly and unfortunately also came to a rather rapid halt. And it seems to be pointing in a strange direction, the car.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm not too sure what happened there. I think the only way that you can get into that spot is if the car really turns around 180 degrees, or almost 180 degrees. So they're completely out to lunch in terms of picking the driving orientation right off of the starting position.
So Munich now being rolled away as Sevilla runs up for their first attempt. I was about to say it's strange not to hear any cheers coming from the fan areas, but there they were, right on cue.
While Sevilla gets set up, brief queue update. It looks like Eindhoven has made it to the front of the first run queue. And behind that, hiding is car number 172 as the head of the second run queue. I think that's Dortmund. Then we have Lund, then we have Athens, Delft, and Renteam has joined us as well.
So let's see if Sevilla will set off. The team members have stepped away but are now walking back towards the car. I don't think I saw a flashing orange light or a blue light just yet, so I'm not sure if this will count as a run attempt. But Christian is signaling the team members to take the car back towards the queue. So not a successful run. I'm not sure if it counts as a run.
No, I think this is where a similar logic as with the Delft run applies. I never saw any orange lights, so no autonomous system was involved, but nevertheless they forfeit basically the first run advantage.
Indeed, because as we mentioned, once the queue does get more full, the scrutineers, the judges become less and less lenient with how much time a team is afforded to try to get going. And as the queue is pretty full right now, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if Sevilla rejoins 6 cars there, Christian is going to be keeping a very close eye on the timer and not show any leniency or mercy in regards to how long a team gets to set up and set off. So, Eindhoven should be ready to start. I see solid orange lights. Flashing orange now. And it is off very, very tentatively. Speeding up considerably on the first right-hand loop, finding its way around the track. Not speeding up anymore, so it seems there might be some sort of speed limiter in place.
Brief hesitation on the entrance of the left-hand turn. And again, sticking to that speed limit, so yeah, I think this is the right way to go, especially given the time of day. Get a time of 6.18 seconds on the board. Get a valid run in with a solid blue light. Thank you very much. Off you go. Maybe on for a second attempt. Well done, Eindhoven.
So the first run queue is empty for now, which means Dortmund will do their second attempt. I do see car number 99 from Aachen ready to enter the queues. And behind them, car number 313. I believe that might be Berlin.
That's also what I would have said based on the number. Looks like there's either an overtaking maneuver by Green Team in the queue or a bit of discussion about whether it really was their first run before going on. Yeah, a lot of technical discussions and decisions about whether it was an actual attempt or not.
Well, they are now going back into the second run queue, but ahead of Athens and Delft. I'm not sure if that's Delft and Athens saying we're not quite ready yet, so you guys can go ahead of us, or if it's something at the official's discretion. Aachen joining the first run queue, and yes, that is Berlin, car number 313, also going in the first run queue.
Right behind them, Prague is coming back for what will be their second run of the day. So yeah, we're getting more action here in the queue. It's of course nice to see that we have more things to talk about, but casting my eye over to the clock, we have just about an hour left. And if my previous math is roughly correct, then yeah, this is about the amount of cars that we might see still up for a run, especially the faffing about that we've been seeing with yeah, sort of reruns or re-attempts anyway.
Well, this is not, well, no, this is a re-attempt. Car number 172 from Dortmund. Looking clean on the right-hand loops so far. Staying clean indeed.
Couple of cones there, but they managed to reacquire the track. They were briefly close, yeah, towards the inside of the track for sure.
Yeah, clipping a couple of more cones on the right-hand side and
managed to get across the timing line a little bit further, a little bit further. Come on, give us a solid blue light. Yes, thank you, Dortmund. An improvement in time, of course, the cones will count as penalty time towards the end. There's too many for me to count from this position, but still, happy to see this from Dortmund.
Yeah, I think the cones might unfortunately be in the double digits, but still a solid improvement. You could hear the big cheers from the team, both in the stands and out on the track, so they're very happy, and we are very happy for them.
Nevertheless, we've mentioned it before, this will cost extra time. These are more cones to replace. This is a slightly more difficult car to recover because all the cones from underneath have to come away. Yeah, this all goes into the calculus of how many cars we will still see running here today.
As we see car number 99 from Aachen already approaching the start line as the track gets reset. I don't believe we saw them at the driverless autocross. We did see them at the driverless acceleration. I think they had a pretty good time in the sub 4 second range. Let me double check.
Yeah, so this means that they are not participating in the Driverless Cup, but still in the 2 driverless disciplines that you need if you want to score or have a chance of scoring full points for the Cup, the dynamics part of the overall FSG Cup.
Yeah, they were in fact the 4th best time at the acceleration event, 3.39. So a very, very competitive time. Let's see if they can be equally competitive on the Skidpad. They were second place in the Driverless Skidpad last year, a 4.903. And I believe that is faster than any of the times we've seen this year so far, at least including cones and valid times only.
Yeah, okay, but the Zurich time on the board, we basically can count as a clean run in the sense that they didn't hit any cones while out on track.
Seeing a couple more queue reshuffle shenanigans. Now Delft is being pushed ahead of the Athens car as well.
And it looks like Aachen is about ready to go.
Yes, there's the flashing orange lights.
couple of three blue cones rolling there on the stabilization lap to the right.
Yeah, it seems the car was oversteering just a bit.
Hey, it's nice to see the driverless system being able to push the vehicle to its mechanical limits. Clean run after those three cones. Decent time, 5.16 seconds.
Yeah, barring any cones, any penalties, anything, the top 7 right now is being closed off by Aachen with their 5.16. There's also a 5.16 for TU Fast Munich, a 5.1 for Hamburg, 5.02 for Milan, another 5.02 for Chalmers. And then we've only had 2 sub 5 second times so far, and those would be from KA Racing, Karlsruhe, 4.94, and the blistering time from AMZ you mentioned, Jonas, 4.78.
Yeah, and this is where our statements about the times on the board not including any cones, us not being able to see all the cones, really come into play. The final standings that get extracted from this are always just going to be based on what the officials can publish for the official results later on.
Yeah, anything we say should be taken with more than a pinch. It's a full-on handful of salt. Speaking of salt, make sure everybody rehydrates not only pure water, but electrolytes as well, sodiums, potassiums, important in this weather.
Yeah, it is still 39 degrees here at Hockenheim, and we've been roasting on this infield piece of asphalt for quite a while together with all the officials and scrutineers running this event. I think the driverless acceleration has also been an absolute scorcher out in the pit straight, surrounded by concrete walls that are also painted pretty dark. So yeah, it's been one hell of a dynamics day, and it will still be for quite a while to go. Of course, we only have 55 minutes here in the driverless skid pad, but later on tonight we will have the manual skid pad in the mostly dark, depending on when exactly the sun sets.
I think sunset should come right about 9:30, 10 o'clock, something like that. The manual skid pad will be running all the way until midnight, and judging by what we're seeing here, it seems the vast majority of the cars will show up between 11:15 and midnight.
Yeah, for the manual event, of course, that would still mean that the queue moves quite a bit faster than driverless. But yeah, please don't do that to us, guys. We also want to go to bed at some point. Now Berlin setting off on their first run of the day. I think they even still have the brand new stickers on their tires as they're collecting 4 or so cones on the inside and veering off course now.
Yeah, let's see if that throws the navigation of the car off on the second right-hand loop.
Yeah, we have at least 1 cone in the middle of the track.
Looking inside, I can confirm the car is not wearing bands.
Yeah, now we're leaving the track at exactly the same point that we left it on the first go-around on the right-hand side. Let's see if this fares any better the other way around. We're collecting cones again, this time on the inside first.
Yeah, now focusing on the blue
and
cones.
We've come to a stop.
Indeed.
That's blue flashing. I think maybe Christian pointed to the possibility of maybe can you please abort this run. It was going pretty slow, to be honest. So I think in the interest of keeping this fair to the other teams, maybe they asked for an abort.
Indeed. And while the track is being reset, car number 46 from Lund joining from the second run queue. And we see Sevilla have now returned for their first attempt. The first time around did not count as a run as they left the dynamic area, left the start line before the autonomous system engaged, before it was considered a valid run. Looking at the second run queue, it has filled up quite a bit. After Lund, there is somebody hiding behind Sevilla. I cannot quite make out who it is. But past that, it would be
Green
Renteam,
team.
yes, Renteam.
Renteam, sorry, yes.
And behind Renteam we have Delft, we have Athens, we have Prague, we have Vienna, we have... Is that Wrocław? Yes, it is. And we have Trondheim.
Yeah, so by my count, this is roughly 40-ish minutes worth of running in the queue already. We have 52 minutes left in this event, so yeah, we are pretty much all the way to the end, barring any calamities like Berlin completely rearranging almost every cone that we have out on track.
You will see the officials tossing a couple more cones around, making sure everything is set up as it is supposed to be. Lund, meanwhile, doing their final preparations, discussing something with the officials to make sure the car is ready, as Berlin is recovered in the background.
Joining us in the first run queue is Barcelona, so they'll queue up behind Sevilla. Therefore, also again skipping over the second run queue. Now I think it's getting interesting if we will see everybody driving here still. That is now in the queue.
Well, we'll definitely see Lund driving right now. Once again, a tentative start, but staying cleanly between the cones on the Saiter right-hander.
Yeah, this really feels like the car is being super careful not to go too fast, just to get a time on the board. But it is looking faster than Berlin. Right-hand runs completed. Just under 11 seconds. I'm pretty sure the fact that it's going relatively slow makes this all the more tense, at least for me. 11:04, hey, at least it's pretty consistent between left and right. Now we want to see it come to a stop in the orange cone area.
It seems it wants to do a neat parking job. It has stopped, but I don't see the blue light. There it is.
There we go. Deservedly big cheers from the team just here in the viewing area. Well done, Lund. I'm glad we could get a valid run for you guys.
So one more Iberian team joining the queue. This time it's Lisboa coming in for their second run. We still see Sevilla and Barcelona in the first run queue. It seems Sevilla is ready and will be coming in for their second try of their first run. And we will see whether Barcelona or Renteam will be the ones given the green flag afterwards.
Yeah, based on how this has been going so far, I would expect Barcelona going before Renteam.
So, Sevilla getting ready for their first run. We see a bit of a discussion happening between the team members and the officials. I see the official pointing back towards the queue and the driver getting back in. So it seems once again Sevilla will unfortunately not be able to get their first run in. And we thought it might be Barcelona coming next, but it is in fact a Ren team going for their second try.
Yeah, that could be based on the readiness of Barcelona, or yeah, pre-scrutineering not quite being completed yet. Any number of reasons. It is good that we see Sevilla clearing relatively quickly so that we can get another run in. We have just over 45 minutes left to go.
And in those 45 minutes, we see Ostfalia coming back, hoping to get their successful second run in. We already mentioned Lisboa had joined the second run queue, and I'm not seeing anybody else joining just yet. There are a couple of cars that have been out in the testing area and sort of staying before the entrance to the dynamic events. Sevilla, let's see if they decide to go straight back into the first run queue or not. But for now, Ren team.
It's an unfortunate proceedings for Sevilla. I saw them after their first, let's say, failed attempt at a run, running for the rest of the dynamic area, probably to try and scramble fix anything that might be wrong. It looks like they will also head out of the queuing area again now. That's not a good sign. I think we're slowly approaching the point where all the cars that are in the queue will barely get in a run as is. And, more cars joining there will only make things worse.
Ren team, meanwhile, does set off. It does seem to be a bit more of a tentative approach. I do feel like the car might be on a speed limit. I didn't see much change between the right-hander attempts and the left-hander looking very much equally steady. But very clean, very smooth. No stuttering from the motors, no stuttering from the steering wheel. And they come to a stop a little hesitantly, coming to a second stop, and there's the solid blue light. That should be a good run for Stuttgart. The times may be a little bit slower than they would have been hoping for. It is a 7.25, if my eyes don't deceive me.
Yep, that's right.
But I'm sure, as we said multiple times, just getting a time on the board, especially in the driverless disciplines, is already a very, very good step in the right direction.
Yeah, and especially for the overall scoring, also a good serving of points, almost regardless of what your actual time looks like. But now, lining up in the starting position, Barcelona, they need a little correction to be in exactly the right spot.
In the meantime, Eindhoven returned for their second run. So there are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars in the second run queue, an empty first run queue, Barcelona at the starting line already. So 10 cars, definitely less than 50 minutes to go. Let's see if everybody has enough time to get their runs in. Team members stepping away from the Barcelona car, except for the last. There we go. I see the flashing red of the T-Sol.
I am not seeing any yellow indicator lights yet, though. Let's... now, there we go. Now it's on, indicating that we're ready for the button push after the go-ahead from Christian. Flashing orange always means the car could set off, as it does now. Very cautiously, of course.
One of the more tentative starts we have seen, but definitely not unique in that aspect. Speeding up a little bit. Don't think speeding up between the first and second right-hander, but transitioning to the left-hander very nicely.
Sub 7 seconds, still a decent time. There we go, 6.99 overall. We're coming to a stop and a solid blue light. Yes, thank you, Barcelona. That was clean. That was really clean.
Indeed. It's a textbook first attempt. As you already mentioned, don't rush it too much. Stay cleanly between the cones. Get a nice blue solid on the finish.
And
first,
then you can still go and try your hand at getting a second run in, but man, that second run queue is pretty long at this point.
Indeed, as we see Delft coming out of that second run queue and approaching the start line, not a very fruitful driverless discipline FSG for them so far. And this should be their final attempt at the autonomous skid pad. So the team members tweaking with the car. Christian looking very attentively at the timer. Everybody stepping away. Let's see if we see the solid orange and flashing orange that we are hoping for.
Yeah, that was indeed the problem previously. I'm not seeing any solid orange just yet. And nope, that's blue flashing. That's a rejected run, unfortunately.
And I believe this time around this will count as a DNF on Delft's second attempt.
Yeah, so we never saw it engage. It depends on the exact system status that I don't think we are privy to quite the same way that Christian is, but yeah, this is a tough one. Maybe they get to re-queue in the second run queue again, but even in that case, it's a pretty long queue.
Well, I think you might be right, Jonas, because looking at the official timing, I do not see a DNF for Delft's second attempt. And they do seem to be turning into the back of the second run queue once again.
Yeah, at this point it seems like they're going with the strategy of just try again until it works. Next up, lining up on the starting position is Prague.
Yeah, this will be their second run. I think they are in the top 10 based on their first run. Indeed they are. They are currently 8th with a 5.278, not including any cones, of course. Let's see if they can improve. Oh, and I do see 2 more cars arriving. I believe they will both be joining the first run queue, because it is car number 51 from Ghent and car number 77 from DHBW Stuttgart. 38 minutes to go as we see the flashing lights on the Prague car.
Yeah, and I think the arrival of these 2 first runners might seal the fate of some of the second runners already. Prague sets off again with that little stutter, the same thing that they already did on their first run.
Yeah, and on the second right-hander again, a little twitchy on the throttle. The left-hander seems to be more stable.
That's also reflected in the times, 5.36, not an improvement for them, but hey, at least they know that their car is pretty consistent.
Indeed, and this was a clean run, no cones hit. I don't remember if there were any on the first attempt, so net, there could still be an improvement. As we see Vienna now from the second run queue approaching the start. So there are now 2 cars in the first run queue, and then those being Ghent and DABW Stuttgart, and we have Athens going for their second run a little bit later on. Behind Athens, I see Wrocław, I see Trondheim, I see Lisboa, I see Ostfalia, Eindhoven, and Delft.
Right then, solid orange on the Wien car. Now we're just waiting for that to go flashing and for the car to set off.
And again, one of the more tentative contestants we've seen today. But navigating the right-hand loops successfully. Good transition to the left hand as well.
Again, just like Lund, staying below the 11 seconds.
Yeah, they had a 14.7 on their first attempt, so this is already a considerable improvement.
And consistent too. 10.49. We've come to a stop. I'm seeing solid loop.
And it is a 10.4, a 4-second improvement. Well done, Vienna.
It's always nice to see improvements, especially in the second run. That means somebody's doing something right. And that's all that really counts in Formula Student, doesn't it?
Indeed it is. And let's see if Ghent can do something right on their first run, car number 51. What do you think? Will they be aggressive or will they be gentle? All right, Vienna successfully recovered off the track. No cones to reset. The track is ready to go. So let's see how quickly Ghent can get going.
Yeah, they're one of the very few teams that I actually see the car being followed by a pretty big tool cart into the queuing area and also the staging area to get going for the discipline. They've been following the strategy of some of the other teams as well in this scorching heat, trying to keep as much sunlight away from the heat-sensitive parts of the car. They still have that kicking around, and they are being given the hurry up from Christian. in the interest of keeping this queue as mobile as possible.
Here we see Aachen, now on number 99, trying to rejoin the second run queue. Athens is already being pushed forward, even though Ghent did not get going yet. So I'm not sure if that means Athens is going to abort their second run attempt at this time. They did left a couple of cars ahead of them while they were in the queue. So let's see if they do go for an attempt, but I do see a marshal waving his hands rather frantically.
Yeah, that is for the Athens car. It could also be that Athens is being pushed out, because there is another dynamic area gate, of course, back there, in sort of the direction that they are moving right now. And yeah, it was a very gentle approach, because they did not run or start their run at all. That's a bummer for Ghent. I think they can still join the second run queue, but they've lost the advantage of the first run.
As we see car number 77, DHBW Stuttgart, coming in for their first attempt. And we have, now that Athens have left and Ghent, we will see if they're rejoining the queue immediately or not. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars in the second run queue. Just over half an hour to go. So it could be that everybody who's in the second queue run now might still be able to get their attempt in, barring any unforeseen delays. All right, DHBW, orange lights on. Flashing and ready to go.
And this is similar to what we saw from them in the driverless autocross this morning. They got going and then immediately had to stop. Yeah, by virtue of the fact that they did actually set off, this is definitely their first run gone. Yeah, they have, in theory, one more attempt left, of course, but man, the second run queue is massive, given the pretty much 30 minutes that we still have left.
You know, it's massive, but the throughput does seem to be a little bit higher than we anticipated. Unfortunately, that has been mostly due to the fact that cars have just not been able to set off on their runs. But we do now see, yes, that is Wrocław lining up behind DHBW. And then following them in the second run queue will be Trondheim, Lisbon, Ostfalia, Eindhoven, and potentially Delft and Aachen. I see the Delft car is being a little bit, they're being a little bit hesitant in the queue, not quite at the tail end. There's a bit of a gap between them and Eindhoven. Maybe they'll be generous like Athens and allow Aachen to overtake them if they think it's an issue that they cannot resolve quite as quickly as they would like. Let's see how it happens. For now, car number 160 of Wrocław lining up. And just as we were saying that the first run queue might be empty, I believe we have car number 68 from Tsinghua University about to join.
Yeah, they really seem to have a knack for last-minute runs. I happen to know that they were also one of the last runners on the driverless acceleration. It's awesome, to be honest, to see them participate here in the driverless disciplines. I think they take the cake this year for the car from the furthest distance away, coming to Hockenheim here.
I think it's definitely between them and Washington State. not quite as up to date on my geography as I perhaps should be. Meanwhile, Wroclaw sets off. Looking very smooth, not quite as tentative as we saw from some other teams. A little bit twitchy with the steering, but staying neatly within the lines. Transitioning to the left-hander nicely as well.
Improving on the right-hand side already.
They complete their loops, and do we see solid blue?
Yes,
we do. Very well done, Wroclaw.
7.6 in the bag. Great to see. Next up, we'll have Trondheim. Tsinghua, I would expect, still needs a little bit of pre-inspection to be done before they will be given preference over the second run queue.
Yeah, and the second run queue not getting any shorter because, of course, Ghent and the Abbeville and now Barcelona also rejoining. So that is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars in the second run queue, 1 car in the first run queue, and 1 car on the starting line. Which leads me to doubt that every single vehicle will be able to get their attempt in, unfortunately. But such is FSG.
Yes, we have 25 minutes left. Maybe I should finish that sentence. We have 25 minutes left, and that's not a lot of time for all of these cars.
So we see the solid orange lights from Trondheim, one of the more unique ready-to-drive sounds, as we see the flashing orange lights. Let's see if they can improve. One of the more aggressive starts, a little bit too aggressive, clearing virtually the entire outside cone line. But a consistent line, as they do not touch any cones on the second right-hander.
And again, most of the outside cones also on the left-hand side collected. It's a really impressive time, sub 5 seconds, but man, while it is a valid run, you will have to add quite some penalty time on top of this.
No, indeed, but they do manage to improve. Their first run was a 5.3, this is a 4.95. I'm not sure if there were any cones on the first time around, but still, either way, decently competitive time. I don't think we've seen too many completely clean, fast runs. It's either been clean and tentative or fast and a little bit messy, with a few exceptions, of course. But as we always say, no rights to be derived from the preliminary results. All will be revealed later on in the week.
In the official standings.
In the official standings. Which it sometimes happens also get revised with a V1 and a V2 and a V2.1. So plenty of excitement and suspense still to come. So, car number 68 lining up. We do see an official running towards them. I'm not 100% sure why.
That's usually related to the radio key. That was maybe snatched up by one of the other teams. You need that in the remote control so that the run gets logged correctly in accordance with the radio frequency rules here at Hockenheim.
Just over 20 minutes to go. Just over 7 cars in the queue, which would be 8.
And we see Ostfalia in the queue pushing ahead of Lisboa. They might not be quite as ready as they would have liked. And as I say, this Lisboa is pushing past Ostfalia. So maybe we're doubling up on the pre-inspection slots available. Right behind Lisboa is Eindhoven, Delft, Aachen, Ghent, THBW Stuttgart, and Barcelona.
Yeah, and the team from Taiwan does seem to be taking a little bit too long. And I believe Christian told them, sorry guys, the time is up. You now lose your first run privilege, so to speak. I don't think this will count as an attempted run, so they do still have 2 runs. However, as we've already said, looking at the queue, not 100% sure they will be able to get them both in. And I see Lisbon actually being pushed forward and back out of the dynamic area. So, well, maybe not out of the dynamic area, maybe simply back to the back of the second run queue. Could be indeed that they were taking too long to prepare.
Yeah,
and,
now it's getting messy in the queue. I see Delft sort of sticking behind again.
Yeah.
They're not following Eindhoven as closely as...
well, which of course they don't necessarily have to until it's actually, their turn to go.
And Tsinghua being motioned to the back of the second run queue, unfortunately. Yeah, however fair this is, it is still really unfortunate to see. This might mean that we will not get to see them in a run today.
And just as you say, Delft was lagging behind. They do now park right up to the back of the car from Eindhoven. Aachen following very close behind, and Ghent as well. But right now we have Ostfalia getting ready for their second run. Their first one ended a little spectacularly with a bit of a power slide, a bit of a drift over the timing beacon line in the middle of the Skidpad track. Let's see if they can keep it under control on their second attempt. All right, orange lights from Ostfalia, and once again a tentative start. On their first attempt, we saw them accelerate suddenly about 2/3 of the way through the right-hand loop. And there we go again, but not quite as aggressive as the first time around. Now staying neatly within the track, very good. Clipping one blue cone on the exit of the right-hand loop, and now going tentatively through the first left-hander.
This is a similar spot as Prague has been hesitating at, where they slow down.
Yeah, they're clipping a couple of cones along the outside of the track. I think 1 blue, 1, 2 yellows, but completing both loops successfully. And there's the solid blue. Well done, Ostfalia. Successful run on the board.
They improved their time. Well, their left-hand side wasn't any faster. The faster right-hand side did bring their average down to 7:07. Well done.
Well, I don't think they had a full-on successful time on their first attempt, so...
Could be why, yeah.
Still, I'm sure they'll be happy with this result. As we see Eindhoven coming out of the second run queue, going to the start line. Delft once again electing not to push forward immediately.
Just over 15 minutes left. Man, we've talked about the end time here a lot, but exactly at 7 o'clock what is going to happen is a gong noise, and any car that, according to the rules, hasn't gotten the go-ahead signal at that point for the manual disciplines, that's the green flag. For driverless, that is Christian's word, will not be allowed to run anymore. Given by the downtime that we've had earlier here in the day, yeah, that's fair procedure. That's the way of Formula students. And it is unfortunate to see that we have such a full second run queue to move ahead. So full, in fact, that Aachen seemingly gets to overtake Delft to still have a chance of an attempt here in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I think maybe because Delft is allowing other teams to go ahead of them, they will not be asked to move to the back of the second run queue the way Lisbon was. Of course, we don't know if Lisbon was asked. Maybe they did it of their own accord as Eindhoven sets off.
Yeah, if I remember the first run correctly, this does look slightly more aggressive. And it is. Slight improvement on the right-hand side already.
Yeah, their first attempt was a 6.18. This does definitely look faster.
Half a second here or there is nothing to sneeze at. We're coming to a stop with solid blue lights and an overall improved time. Well done.
Yeah, 5.43. Congrats, Eindhoven. Aachen now pushing forward. We see the officials consulting with Delft, perhaps asking if they want to let Ghent ahead of them as well, but it seems no. But first, Aachen lining up. They had a 5.16 on their first attempt. I think there might have been 1 or 2 cones touched as well. I don't remember exactly. All right, Aachen lined up. Final checks. T-sol system active, solid orange lights on.
And we're off.
5.16 to beat.
Collecting less cones than the previous time. That's a good sign. But not as fast as the first time around. Still, on top of the code penalties, this might still be their fastest run of the day.
Yeah, it could be. It's very, very consistent. It was a 5.165 on the first run and a 5.168 on the second. I don't know how much of a difference track temperature makes for these driverless cars when they're not maybe pushing quite to the maximum, but 0.003 of a second could perhaps be explained by that.
Yeah, as Ghent pushes to the start position, I'll give you a quick update on the queue. It looks like that indeed was asked in the end to return to the back of the second run queue. Now it's DHW Stuttgart, Barcelona, Lisbon and Delft, waiting for the last 10 minutes of available time here.
Yeah, 12 minutes left, 5 cars hoping to run. I think 2 or 3 definitely will. But I'm not sure if we will get around to Lisboa and Delft. Ghent tractive system active.
Not seeing any orange lights just yet.
I
We're
might
discharging
be.
again, that's bad news. Usually what you would expect, at the very least, to happen is the solid green turning into flashing orange. Flashing red, and then the orange driverless lights coming on again.
Yeah, I was seeing some dejected body language from the team members, and the driver is getting back into the car now. So they will be pushed away pretty quickly. And that means that car number 77, DHBW Stuttgart, should be allowed to make their way to the start line if they are ready, and it seems they are. Car number 68, Tsinghua University, are coming back now to the second run queue after having left it. Ghent, I think, will also try, hoping beyond hope, that they might still get enough time to have a second attempt, or a first one. I'm not sure if this run counted. I think it would have, as DHBW now gets ready.
Yeah, we have quite a high attrition rate in the queue itself. I'm also looking at Athens, who've been sort of parked off to the side of the dynamic area of the skid pad here. They've had quite some scrutineering attention. Delft has pushed out of the queue a couple of times to the back. Tsinghua had some struggles, I think. So yeah, anything is still open. We've talked about it a lot. 7 o'clock closing time. Fast approaching.
Yeah, let's see if DHBW can get going. They had on their first attempt, a stutter step and then an immediate flashing blue light. Christian still looking carefully at the stopwatch in his hand. We do see the flashing orange lights and we do hear the signal.
Not so ready to drive after all. This is another abort. That's unfortunate to see.
Yeah, very much a deja vu of their first attempt. Setting off, doing maybe half a meter, and then coming to an immediate stop, which means Barcelona will now come in for their run. And if things keep going this way, it could still be that Lisboa and Delft, who were pushed to the back of the second run queue, might still just get their nose in. So Barcelona with their second attempt. T-Sol flashing red. So the car is energized.
I'm not seeing any orange yet, though.
Not quite. Is that a faint orange?
Yes, it is.
It's a little difficult with the glare from the sun, but yes, it does seem to be ready to drive.
Yeah, those lights can either be on the main hoop or on the rear wing end plates. Now they're flashing, so we could be going at any minute.
Yeah, they had a good first run.
Actually, looks like the flashing frequency of the orange lights slightly changes between when it's not driving yet and when it's driving. That's quite handy to know for tomorrow in the track drive. First time lap on the right-hand side is done. One yellow cone slowly rolling away, and we're coming to a stop.
Yeah, quite a lot of blue cones collected on the left-hander, so unfortunately that is a DNF. And immediately Lisbon is being allowed to line up and prepare. The track marshals will of course try to restore the track to a working order as quickly as possible as well. Just over 5 minutes left.
Last couple of cones still need to come out from underneath Barcelona so that they can be replaced into their correct positions.
Yeah, always a bit of a kerfuffle, retrieving cones from under a car.
Yeah, now the question is what's the best place for Barcelona to go?
It's a DNF, so I don't think they need to make their way over to the post-scrutiny tent. So probably they will be asked to go through the back entrance, back exit, so to speak.
Yeah. I really feel with that one person pushing the car, to be honest. That's always the worst job, especially if you want to go places quickly. In this heat, it's... Oh, it looks like they're queuing again? No, I really think this is only just leniency on their part, trying to get out of the way as good as possible. Clearly the queuing area is considered far enough away from the skid pad.
Yes, indeed. Good thinking by Barcelona. Iberian rivals, Iberian friends, competitors, Lisbon now lined up.
Yeah, rivals I don't really think exist in Formula students.
Well, a friendly rivalry.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it yet here on our commentary, but I think one of the things that makes Formula students so special is, well, the atmosphere of each team trying to help as much as they can whenever any other team approaches them with questions or help requests.
Now, of course, it's a rivalry, but friendly in the sense that everybody wants to help each other be the best they can when they do get to competing. Lisboa setting off.
Gets to be competing. Careful start into the right-hand side, speeds up slightly for the timed lap even. There we go, brief shuffle over to the other side. Very neat so far. Brief wiggle here on the left-hand side, but we're coming to a stop.
Don't see the solid blue just yet.
Still flashing orange.
There it is. But we do not see a time on the timing board.
Yeah, I think something might have happened to our timing system. Could very well be the heat. I know that has been a problem throughout the day so far.
Yeah, I don't see a time on the handy-dandy commentator dashboard either. So it could just be an issue with the display. I'm sure the timekeeping still has everything logged correctly on their internal systems.
Yeah, absolutely. There would have been communication between timekeeping and the officials to avoid any issues with the competition part of it. Yeah, we're both looking at our watches here. We have a couple of minutes left to go.
2 minutes and exactly 30 seconds now.
So that means basically Delft can just about still get set up for their run.
Yeah, I see Lisbon is going a little bit slowly, the driver getting in carefully, making sure not to break anything. Delft is also still setting up, so that's not an issue.
we're coming down to the wire here in the last couple of minutes of the skid pad.
1.5 minutes left. I think one last Hail Mary from TU Delft.
Yeah, they've been having multiple attempts, well, not attempts in the technical sense of the word, but multiple kicks at this can, trying to get this this car to accept the mission. Like before, we did not see the solid orange.
Well, now I do not even see an active track assistant light.
Yeah, that's another problem.
And the push bar is already being retrieved, the driver getting back into the car. So it seems, unfortunately, that will be a failed attempt. We have exactly 60 seconds to go.
For Tsingpa to potentially maybe make it just in time. Looking at the red button that can trigger the gong sound. Nobody is ready to push it just yet.
Just as you say that, somebody walks out. I believe a hand will be hovering over that button pretty soon.
And that would be bad news, of course, for the last 3 cars in the queue now, which would be, if I'm not mistaken, Sevilla, Ghent, and Athens.
Oh, we see an official looking at the clock, looking at the watch, and already slowly creeping towards the red button. And there it is. Let's see what Christian will decide.
Yeah. That body language does not look good for the team. I think this is the end. This has been the driverless skidpad of FSG 2026. Man, what a last hour and a half it's been. I think we couldn't stop talking about how tight it was going to be time-wise. We did manage to get a lot more cars through than I expected.
Indeed, we got a couple of cars breaking the 5-second barrier. The top 3, once again, unofficially and excluding any potential cones and any other penalties, are AMZ with 4.78, Karlsruhe with 4.94, and Revolve with 4.95.
Yeah, so overall, not quite as fast times as we saw last year, mayhaps. Could be related to the absolute scorcher of a day we've had here today. Of course, we'll have something similar happening for driverless track drive tomorrow. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching live here in the grandstands and live out on the stream. Make sure to join us tomorrow again. And tonight, of course, we have one more thing happening out here on track, the manual driverless. But first, manual driverless, yeah, that's a great combination. The heat is really getting to me. Manual skidpad, of course. I really need some dinner, and we'll see when the next event starts.